BigFrogsBigFrogs. And this is our like final business solution. So for our solutions, here's an outline of what we're gonna go through. We're gonna start with part-time help, like in-home part-time help mostly. Miles will tell you more about that, about the other section of that we've discovered, but he'll tell you more about that. And we're also gonna talk about adding website improvements that we think could be very helpful in saving time and increasing customer like connections. And also we're gonna talk about saving money on ingredients and expanding your market mostly with like UVA licensing.
So when we met with Miss Trout and talked to her, she kind of talked about how her least favorite part was obviously rolling the dough, but also kind of dealing with kind of the nitty gritty emails back and forth with customers and stuff. So we thought that a virtual assistant could kind of eliminate a lot of these unneeded things like scheduling and stuff. So I looked into the pricing of a couple different websites and like monthly services and weekly services to see if it would be within her budget to afford a virtual assistant. And after kind of looking into it, I did some math and I did it so I kind of, for like the monthly plan, I did it so where I kind of calculated, I did some math, so let me restart. So I did some math and I just set it up where she got an order every week for a month. And she were paying an assistant to handle the 1.5 hours that she spends on the communication, and then compare it to the amount that she technically pays herself for that amount. And the amount that she would be paying herself is $180, basically for a whole month of just spent on communication. And then for the cheapest plan I could find for a month plan was $110, which seems like saving that $70 a month would be extremely beneficial. But once we got questions back from her, and she said that she talked about how a lot of the communication, like the things that she needs to do herself, is the one-on-one with the customer and the design, and that can't be handled by somebody else. And then also calendar management, which would be another massive part of the virtual assistant's job. So she'd be paying somebody maybe a little less, but basically doing half of the work that she's already doing. So we kind of, after doing that, we came to the conclusion that it's not worth paying somebody that extra amount just to be doing half the work.
So one thing that we decided to look more into after we decided that the virtual assistant wasn't going to be worth the money is having an in-house assistant that comes and helps with things that she doesn't like to do, like the rolling the dough and measuring out ingredients for the dough, because one thing that Ms. Trout had mentioned in our first meeting with her is that the dough is something that can be done by anybody because it stays the same every time, and that having somebody that would be willing to do like the more tedious work that's a little more time consuming and not as much fun to do, like the measuring out and the making the dough and doing grocery runs, is something that would save her a lot of time, so she could spend that time that the virtual assistant would have done, like the talking to the customers about when she can have the order done and when, like what kind of design they want, what she can do and what she can't do. And also running, she said that social media isn't something that she's been super like present on, but would like to get her name out more. So having somebody to help take pictures and post on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook or whatever her preferred form of social media is to get more out there and show more people what she can
do. So then we also kind of looked at our website and we were thinking of ways to improve it, and kind of back to that customer relations part about how a lot of customers ask a lot of these exact same questions with her and waste her time in this process of kind of design and things like that. She said there was a lot of frequently asked questions. So we thought finding those, 5 or 10 frequently asked questions and putting them on the website to hopefully save her some time. And then also maybe setting up a survey to get feedback from customers to see if they're satisfied or any other things like that.
And then we also looked into ingredients and pre-sorting, and by pre-sorting I mean like sorting like all the dry ingredients and putting them in Ziploc bags, as she said she does, and she really does not like doing that task. Well, first we looked into cheaper ingredients, and honestly, you probably, from the research we found,
you can only save a few bucks every single month. So we would just go say that she should just keep on going on the Costco runs. And then for pre-sorted ingredients, we found that they sort ingredients sometimes in like assembly lines, but they require you to buy your own ingredients and send them to them. So we would really suggest her not to take this route. And overall, thank you.
So one of the big things that we focused on is utilizing the UVA licensing that Ms. Strout recently purchased. And so the main idea that we looked into was Greek life with fraternities and sororities at the University of Virginia. And like our main focus with this is like expanding her client base to a new group, like that's a little bit younger than the group that she's focused on now. Taking advantage of that licensing is huge because she's spending the money on it, so she might as well make her profit off of it and utilize it as much as she can. The designs that would most likely be, that we believe these sororities and possibly fraternities would ask her to do would be pretty universal, just specific, not a whole lot of different designs, like maybe like a tri-delta like design on a cookie would be pretty easy to just crank out like 100 or so, however many that particular event would need. And it would be bigger orders because they don't really have small events that only like 50 people are at. We're still waiting on the responses from some of the questions that we asked the people in the sororities right now, so for our final presentation those will be there. A couple other solutions that we think would be worth thinking about are utilizing the heat packer that she already has for the longer deliveries that she has, like keeping them safer, keeping them fresher for the few out-of-state deliveries and further like the Northern Virginia, Alexandria areas, and kind of expanding the market more to the country clubs and possibly the Virginia Guardian Club.
Thank you so much for listening to our presentation. Do you have any more